So we were like, let's do John Lennon, Yoko Ono's Happy Christmas, War is Over. Bert said he'll sing it. John Feldman produced it. We're like, this is never going to get approved by Yoko and like everybody. Like they always say no to kind of everything. We submitted it. Not only did she approve it, she like demanded that we go to New York City and play a Grammy event honoring her and Lennon. So we went and played that with Bert.
I can't help but walk through your landmines, 10 feet and I'm going out of my mind. I'm not right without you, is that so wrong?
Checky. Hey, Frankie, come here. Come on. You ready? Up. There we go. Jumping right in. I dig
better
this.
than one Frank.
Yeah, exactly. So Frank, meet Frank Frankenstein. Come here. Okay. One Frank knows another. If she gets annoying, I will take control of her.
Sweet puppy.
But there she is. Hey, Frankie.
How old is she?
She's just over 2.
Amazing.
Full name Frankenstein, girl, but my last dog was Dracula, so I had to keep the horror going. So I'm going to have you talk real close into your mic, by the way.
My dog's name was Ripper.
Ripper? That's a ripping name.
He was a little Yorkie. He made it almost to his 14th birthday.
I was going to say, I hear you talking about him in past tense, and I was like, oh gosh. But that's the worst part about having dogs is when you lose them.
Before I was with my wife and kids, he was there. He was on the road with Street Drum Corps. He came on multiple Motley Crue tours and like live the life.
So let's actually then talk about your history a bit, because I first am familiar with you from Street Drum Corps.
Totally.
One of my favorite bands of all time, and the first band I ever saw in concert was The Used. It seemed like you guys were constantly together. I think I saw you guys like in 2007, and maybe you guys were on one of their DVDs. That's why I always associated it was with their birth DVD, maybe?
100%. That's why I got my first gold record from that.
Really?
Yeah. Bert, from The Used, was a huge fan, believer. He, brought us to Freeze Management with John Reese. And, we had that whole amazing family. And we went out and supported The Used on the In Love and Death tour.
Burn the sun, burn the light. Take it away. Take my hand, take my life.
We were their intro. So we would go out, instead of your typical, let's kill the house, let's have house music on, lights up. There was none of that. The lights stayed dark, and we were kind of set up in the stage wing, and we would go out and just do this insane 15-minute, percussion, experimental, industrial circus. And at the end of that, we had one song that we released for, because Kevin Lyman signed us when he had Warcon Records.
I didn't even realize that. That is so sick.
So we got signed to Kevin's, label, and we put out the single. And the Used said, we want that to be our intro. So when y'all are finishing your set, you guys go into this and we'll come out one by one and play to that.
And that's what I remember. I remember you guys were the intro of their set coming out.
Exactly.
That's so rad.
So that was our first big tour. And then we toured, multiple tours with them after that. And Bert was just because the way the whole thing happened was we got invited. We started doing pop-up shows at Chain Reaction in Anaheim and stuff. When we were starting out, Kevin Lyman found out about it and invited us on the Warped Tour. And we did a West Coast run.
Yeah.
Where it was the typical story, hey, you can come on the tour, but we don't have a stage for you. So I'll give you an area in the kind of merch area or whatever. So we brought our own stage, our own sound. We got so many sponsors to help fund it because we had to rent a van, a trailer. And Bert was like, I'm going to come out on the tour with you. And we're like, bullshit. No, you're not. He's like, yeah, I am. Tell me where to be. Dude shows up. And this is when, The Used was massive.
Oh, yeah, that In Love and Death Era and Beyond.
Exactly. And he was just like, I want to just express myself. I want to play trumpet. I want to play drums. I want to just scream. So we're like, yeah, dude, come on out. Dude came out with us in the van, helped us set up the stage every day. And it just created such a commotion on the Warped Tour that we literally had to put up barricades, have security, because it was just...
For your own stage that you were building?
Our little 8x8 stage. It was just insanity, and that really launched us. So on that tour, Lyman gave us a record deal. He said, I have this brand new label. He goes, the first thing we're doing is we're putting out a compilation called The Taste of Christmas.
Yep.
And we need bands to do cover songs. So we were like, let's do John Lennon, Yoko Ono's Happy Christmas, War is Over. Bert said he'll sing it. John Feldman produced it. We had guys from Sugar Cult and the Used, all these musicians play on it. We did it, and we're like, this is never gonna get approved by Yoko and like everybody. Like they always say no to kind of everything. So we made a music video and all that. We submitted it. Not only did she approve it, she like demanded that we go to New York City and play a Grammy event honoring her and Lennon. So we went and played that with Bird.
Very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I had no idea about that. That is so wild and such a milestone, I feel like, as a musician. Speaking of the Beatles, have you heard their new song Now and Then?
Yeah.
I know it's true. It's all because of you.
What did you think of that? The whole process of it, of kind of taking an old recording of John Lennon's and then I think old guitar work of George Harrison's and stuff, and combining that with a live orchestra and Peter Jackson's ability to isolate the vocals. What did you think of that whole process?
I just watched it because even a step, later in life, I worked with George Harrison's son, Danny, for years.
Wow.
Danny's an incredible artist. I was in his band called The New Number 2. We did a bunch of touring, a couple records. We did movie scores. He actually married my wife and I. He got ordained. So he's like a dear, dear family, like all that. And his mom has been such an incredible supporter. So I saw her post it the other day. So I went and I just checked it out like a day or two ago. And it's incredible. And like, obviously we're all learning like this new AI world and whatnot. And at the end of the day, it's them, it's an amazing, beautiful song.
Yeah.
The video is a trip, seeing like old school to, the last years of George and things in it. It was awesome though, for sure.
I don't know where AI is going to go with all that, but it's a trip to see what people have been doing with it.
My buddy just turned me on to, what is it?
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously all of us, especially when you're posting on the road a lot of pictures, it's just you're tired of the same things you're going to say. And he goes, watch this. He goes, hey, ChatGPT, write me an Instagram post about, this show that I just played, and you give the information, and it comes up with the most amazing post with like the hashtags, and it's all correct. And then you go in there and kind of just like make it a little bit your own, because some of it's corny. But like if I'm stuck, I'll just do that for inspiration and maybe just use a line or whatever. But that was my first dabble into it, and it was pretty crazy to just see how that can happen. And like it so fast found this information with the right hashtags and the ats and this and that. That was pretty mind-blowing.
Well, I just saw you briefly when we were young.
Yeah.
Ran into you there. You're obviously out there with Sum 41. How was that, man? Those crowds. I saw the footage that you posted, which, by the way, the sound quality of that drum cam that you did, was that the live mic? Was that mic'd up?
Yeah, from my engineer, I got like the isolated drums.
Yeah.
And he just, in his home studio, he, mixed them. But yeah, I was just like 65,000 people, whatever it was. Like, and the fact that like the only festival I've done in my career that I've got to play it twice the same year was Coachella. You play the first Friday, then, whatever day you're on, you play then the next week. But here to do it 2 days in a row, because honestly, the first day, me personally, just like the anxiety, the nerves, just everything. And at 5 o'clock when we went on, the sun was directly in our face. So I couldn't look forward because I have to squint. And if I looked left or right, there was pyro blowing
I was going to
up.
say, you got fire going on next to you.
And I just felt like it was just kind of a roller coaster, like great show and everything was great. But to get to do it again the next day, like I was 100% in, the zone and
Prepared
just
for
really
it.
appreciated it and just enjoyed it. And I got to bring my kids, which was so rad. It was their first time seeing me play something that big and being at a festival like that. And it was, it was my 4-year-old's birthday on the first day of the festival. He turned 5.
Oh, that's great.
So I was like, do you want to come to Vegas? And just seeing Vegas through like their eyes was amazing, and like we did the warm-up show at the Brooklyn Bowl, and my son was awake till midnight on his birthday. I was like, wow, what what, just turning 5-year-old is awake at midnight on their actual birthday. So it was a really fun, special trip. It was a great way to end the year for us. And just like, obviously, anywhere you walked, it was like, you're past, you're this, every band, industry. Like I saw, the first person I see when I got off stage day one is an A&R guy that was when Street Drum Corps was on Interscope, who I hadn't seen since that time, and like, it was just really cool to see, like, 30 Seconds to Mars were, the same thing. They took us Street Drum Corps on so many tours. I've done so many drum things with Shannon Leto. Like those guys were really dear friends and we just lost touch. It's been a minute. I saw Shannon right when I walked off stage and it was like so great to see him and, just all of that stuff. And then like, it was almost like my past. The second day I go back to my trailer and Bobby Alt from Street Drum Corps and John Reese, our old manager, is standing there, who I haven't seen in over a year. And like, to circle back on the Street Drum Corps stuff, like I actually walked away from it at the end of last year. After almost 20 years, it's just like everything that my dreams and wildest dreams, like we did, and it just got to a point where I just felt like I needed to, step away. It was just like running. It became from the three of us just doing these great tours to all of a sudden we had like, multiple troops out doing all the big county and state fairs, all the theme parks. It was a lot going on. It was a lot of stress and it just started to not be healthy for me. And I was like, this was a love of mine. And if I'm having this reaction and I want to put this energy, now that I've really checked all these boxes of things I never thought I would achieve with this crazy drum group, I want to put that into my family. All these workshops I'm doing with the kids now with School of Rock, my own solo stuff. Like I just wanted to shift after almost 20 years. And, Bobby and Adam, the brothers, are keeping it going. They want to power through, which is awesome. And, it's all love. I just needed to step away. But what a ride. I mean, we had a Vegas residency at the Hard Rock. Where
yes,
we had
which
every,
is insane.
Like, crazy rock star. Guess what? I'm in Sum 41 mainly because of like that residency. Derek came and jammed with us. And like the magic kind of happened then, and we just like started hanging more. And like I'd known him, we were friends, but that really kind of just like took it next level.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a lot of epic stuff. Like our washing machine was in the Hard Rock like memorabilia thing that like Adrian Young destroyed with a golf club. Like just crazy stuff. But what a time, it was something. And it's like I came out here to LA, and it's the last thing I thought would pop off. Like I came here to be in a band and do all that kind of stuff. And I just think that's why, because we found something different and unique in a world where everyone's in a band, just all fighting to be the next rock band or whatever. And we kind of offered something different for the punk and kind of rock and roll world. And what a freaking ride it was.
That's how you get it started in Hollywood, California.
You just mentioned the School of Rock stuff, which is wild. I was looking up videos of it, and it is such a cool thing that you have going on. It's these drum workshops where kids get to come, play drums with you, play drums for the crowd, but it's like not the typical workshop vibe that I was thinking. It looked like a full-on concert with stuff that I've seen. You're at a venue. It's packed. You're bringing kids in from the local towns. So what is going on with the School of Rock stuff that you've been hit on the road for, that you've been spreading the word all about?
Yeah, I'm so passionate and proud of it. It's blown up. I've been doing this since like 2017 or 2018. It actually started in China. I got offered to go to China and do drum workshops. And I was just like, okay, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be on my own terms, because I just wasn't a fan of what drum clinics and all those were growing up. It was just, it's all about, just technique and every note you can play, and there's guys that are great that do that, but I was like,
it's very by the books.
Yeah, I want to do something that's more of an experience and a hang, and do it in rad venues, places that kids want to be at, and not just for drummers, for all musicians and their families, and and for the teachers, just something different. And it just kept growing and growing and growing, and it's at the point now where I used to tour it. Like in the pandemic, I actually did a couple tours and just had, I would go to the schools and just do them in the classrooms at School of Rocks around West Coast and California, because, we couldn't have big events. Before that, it was a full-blown tour. Like we would tour it across the states. We do like 2 a year. Vans, came on as a partner and was helping fund it so it could be free for the kids.
That's amazing.
And we were doing it at like skate parks. We did one at Smart Punk in Orlando.
Oh,
at
that's
the record
rad.
shop.
That's so sick.
Like, cool places where kids want to be, and we would have local bands, and then the School of Rocks come play. And my whole thing was like, I want to jam with these upcoming musicians. So kind of the program that we're at now is I'm not touring it now. I'm going to one market because there's like over 300 School of Rocks just in America alone. So I'll pick one market, like let's say I'll go to Denver. We'll bring in like 5 to 10 schools from around the surrounding Denver area, and they get to go perform to open the show. They're called house bands. Like every School of Rock has a house band. That is, they audition. They're picked to be this house band. They do gigs around town. And
do they tour with it? Or are they locally based for each?
Locally, and then School of Rock does like a thing called All Stars where they actually do tour. It's like
cool.
certain ones get picked. It's a very incredible thing that like I didn't have in my childhood, so I'm living it now because it's so rad.
You've
happening.
Been a big backbone of it, which is awesome.
It's so rad, and now it's grown to we'll have these kids open the show and do their mini sets, whatever they want to do. Then I get up there with each house band. We'll play some songs, or we'll play like, whatever, Motorhead or Dio or whatever it may be, and then I do like a mini concert where then the kids are done. They're free to just be at like a private Zummo show, and they all go nuts. Like, it's fun. They go nuts. They're so animated and stoked. Like, we had pits and crowd surfing at Summerfest in Milwaukee in the summer.
Wall of death. These kids just
seriously
smashing into each other.
They have so much fun. And then like the most special part is we kind of open the floor, and it's an open Q&A where it's super organic. It's whatever the kids want to talk about, and the theme that it's organically has come up every time is mental health, suicide, all of these really difficult issues. And for some reason, the kids feel very comfortable talking with me about it. And we've had really healthy conversations with the parents, so now it's grown to where we have a teen suicide prevention charity there to offer resources to these kids and parents and teachers.
Awesome.
We're just talking about mental health, like all this, like a healthy lifestyle, how, as these kids are young artists, how they could be on the right path to just health and wellness. And it's so beautiful. And then we end it with a rad, like, meet and greet. And that's where like we'll have some serious one-on-one kind of conversation. And I've done about 5 or 6 this year, and I've got my last show of this year is going to be on November 18th at Sweetwater. They're like the Amazon of musical instruments. If you want to buy any gear,
they have a big studio,
and they're in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Okay,
they've got like this insane place, and they have a performing arts center within their complex. So I'm doing one there. It's free. You can RSVP, get in for free, and they have their own kind of music school called the Academy there. So this is a different one for me. I'm going to do it with their local community. So that's the one that I'm ending my year on, and then we're starting to plot next year's.
I love that you've created 2 different things inadvertently with Street Drum Corps, what that grew into, and then now this with School of Rock.
We started the first one of this year. Vans let us go to their headquarters in Orange County.
Nice.
And outside, they've got like a stage. And so Steve Van Doren was there grilling hot dogs for the kids.
Oh, good
like,
man.
He drove up with the giant checkered, shoe car and all that. Like, so rad. And then they let us do this summer on a day off on the Sum 41 tour. I drove a couple hours to Chicago, and we did it at House of Vans skate park.
Oh, that's great. That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, Vans has been such a great supporter. And then, I basically created this whole thing with, the owner of SJC Drums, Mike. He was like, he's the one that asked me to go to China to do these workshops. And we were just both so inspired. We were just like, okay, how do we take this to America? How do we do this? We just got so fired up. And like, especially in China, when we had to have a translator, no one knew what I was saying.
I didn't even think of
and
that.
just to see how it resonated with the language barrier, and who knows through the translation how well it was, translated and whatnot, and just to see that power being so far from home, that was like, okay, like we need to take this to America and just go with this thing.
And so you've been doing it. And I met Mike for the first time at When We Were Young Fest.
Awesome.
So I'd love to hear that you guys have had a great working relationship together.
100%. And that's why like the companies I'm with, they support all of this stuff I'm doing. It's they get it. And he got it. When I started working with them, he was like, we need to do this, this, this. And I was just like, okay, you get it. It's like, yeah, let's make rad, amazing, beautiful drums that sound great, but like, let's also do these other things that are really important for the drumming world and the community and all this stuff. So yeah, he and I were like standing on top of the Great Wall of China, and we're just like drums brought us here, like this, and not our band, like this. Yeah, I've been there with my band before, but like we're here doing like these drum workshops. That was pretty crazy. And then we high-fived, and I don't know if anybody knows this unless you've been there, but when we finished walking around the Great Wall, they were like, hey, do you want to take the ski lift down, or do you want to take like a bobsled thing down? And we're like, what? And they go, yeah, you can bobsled down the Great Wall of China. So
I hope you took the bobsled option.
100%. Mike and I just ripping down the Great Wall on this alpine slide or whatever kind of thing it was.
That's so sick.
So sick.
I had no idea that was an option there.
Absolutely.
I might need to check that out.
Yeah, I want to go now.
Yeah, I want to go to the bobsled at the Great Wall of China. So you started with SJC in like 2014 or 2015? Is that
right when
you
I got
guys?
in Sum 41, pretty much?
Yeah, and I remember when that happened. I was with AP at the time, and you performed at the APMAs.
Yep. That was my first gig, by the way. With
the
Sum 41.
APMAs one was?
That was my first, we did a couple little, secret shows.
Yeah.
But, the first show was the APMAs with Dave Brownstown back in the band with DMC from Run DMC. That was my first show in the band.
Wow. So it's going to be coming up almost on 10 years that you've been in the band, but I know the band is also coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are going to get ready to release your third album with the guys, and that's Heaven and Hell. You guys dropped the track Landmines, and which is a banger of the song.
Man.
We jammed that a lot in this office because it's just
so fun.
Yeah, it's so sick. But you've been in the band for almost 10 years. As it's coming to an end, I guess, which is very sad. Sum 41 has been a huge part of my life. Just how has that run been for you?
I mean, just got to be, in the dream gig with one of my favorite bands, and to just do the things we've done and the fun we've had, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, which is just and just to see how big this final world tour is going to be, it's really special. And it's since we've come back from the pandemic, all this amazing touring we've done with Simple Plan, The Offspring, and it's just all been so great. And it's just a great record that we poured a lot into. That was kind of therapy through the pandemic, to go just have this fun side and then this heavy side, to kind of get both out on the record. I can't wait for everybody to hear it, and it's going to be a great way to celebrate. I'm just focused on enjoying every night, and let's just go out on top, celebrate what an amazing career this band has had, have fun. Future doesn't even matter right now. Let's just enjoy every day. And, I think it's a very cool way to go out. It's Motley Crue did that, before they the movie blew up and everyone demanded them to come back and all that stuff. But it was just they were let's go out on top. We're still selling out arenas and blah, blah, blah. And it's just it was a cool, respectable way to just go on top. And the scene right now, look at when we were young.
Dude, it feels like
insane.
a rejuvenated side of stuff right now. And it's an exciting time to be
really
in this music world.
It's the scene is just as big as ever. It's just and it's cool. I don't know how it worked out, but us, Blink, Green Day, everyone's got records coming out. Everyone's killing it.
Bro, because you guys dropped that song right around the same time Blink did. And they were all banger tracks from every band, I thought. And I thought the same. I was like, what year is this right now? Because not only is it great songs, but the response, the crowds, the When We Were Young audience. I was just this is what I have been wanting. This is exactly what I love to see in this scene of music.
So special. It was just, it's what people want. It's not even nostalgia. It's just it is, but it isn't. It's so powerful and amazing. And it's just great to see the respect it's getting and where it needs to be. And I think I feel this is the positive of just such a dark time of the pandemic. It's just people want to have fun again.
Mm-hmm.
Concerts, you can't, there's nothing better than that experience and all that. And, for me, it's the last two records, that I did with the band, they were really heavy. We played, the older stuff live, of course, but I didn't record and wasn't part of this. And the band went away from that for a long time. So to be part of that again, it was just really fun. And when Derek sent me those demos, it was just the emotion and everything was so exciting, and fun again. And just have this fun in such a dark time, you know?
Yeah, and I think Landmines nailed that. It's
Yeah.
so brought back just a familiarity that I
Totally.
love of Sum 41. So is it a 2-album release? Is it Heaven and Hell and one's
Yeah,
darker,
it's just a
one's
double
lighter?
record. Yeah, so Heaven is like the pop punk stuff, and Hell is the metal stuff.
So Landmines was obviously a Heaven track.
Exactly.
Nice. I love that. I got to ask, when you were joining Sum 41, it's one of the most like inclusive bands on stage. Everyone has a damn microphone that they're singing into. Was that new for you to be doing the vocal side of stuff, or had you
So-
done that?
Solo to the party, my name was on it. I'm hanging out, drinking in the back without Camino. What's the script? No one knew me by name. It's my own house party, cause nobody cares.
I, you know, came up in cover bands on the East Coast, and whenever we would do all the like hip hop stuff, the Beastie Boys, like Tribe Called Quest, so I would do the rapping.
Okay.
So that was a natural thing. I didn't know if, you know, I was gonna be asked to do that in some. I offered. I was like, hey, I can do all, you know, all this stuff and then all the shouting, and they were like, yeah, all good. So it was a natural, easy thing for me. It's super fun. And like in street drum corps, we would always, you know, we would shout and yell and kind of all that stuff. And yeah, it's fun though, especially
That's
like
awesome.
on Fat Lip. It's
I was going
you
to
know,
say, on Fat Lip, it was
Yeah.
such an iconic song to know, like, oh my God, their drummer is singing on that as
Totally.
well. It's an exciting era that you've been able to include in your career with Sum 41.
Absolutely.
So there's a new generation of such talented drummers, and I spoke with Sage Weber recently.
Love Sage.
He hit the road last minute unexpectedly with Bring Me the Horizon,
Yep.
learned all the tracks, and then Tosh, if you know who Tosh is.
Just met Tosh in at When We Were Young.
Yeah, he did it with Fall Out Boy unexpectedly.
Oh,
he had to
really?
do some shows with them. He found out he was on tour doing drums for Royal and the Serpent.
Wow.
And then Fall Out Boy's drummer had to leave for a family emergency, so he had to fill in.
That's
and those are
awesome.
great stories of them getting to play with those legends. However, you might have the one that takes the cake, because in 2009, you played with Motley Crue. You've mentioned their name a few times now, but you got to hit the stage with them. I know it was the first band you ever saw in concert that
Yep.
your dad took you to.
I was like, yeah.
This is my friend Frank Zummo from the Street Drum Corps. Say, what's up, Frank?
I still don't believe it happened. Like,
Yeah.
it's been so many years after, and I mean, it was a roller coaster. I was thrown, you know, Tommy had an accident with fireworks, and just had to fly right out and jump in. No rehearsal, no sound check. But it's like one of those things where I played to those records in my parents' basement like my entire childhood. So it's like, you know, it felt like that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg. You know, like it really felt like that moment. And it was like everything you could think of and then some, to be in this band that are just like, they have fun. They have fun on the road. It was just me and Tommy was still on the tour. So the fans weren't, you know, he would come out and talk. He would play piano. He'd kind of like hit some drums with like one hand. And then as he got better, I would play the first half of the show. He'd play the second half of the show. So until he was like, okay, then, you know, I was able to leave. But it was insane. It was just like to be in that band, play those shows. The production was like insane.
That's what I can't even imagine what
Like-
that scale of show would have been like. And I loved that it seemed so openly incorporated you. They didn't try to hide. Tommy's not here. He came out on stage because your dad was at the show too. I think my favorite thing ever is your dad took you to the first show that you ever went to, which was that. Then he got to sit in the audience of Motley Crue and watch his son perform.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's probably one of the coolest full circle moments ever.
100%. And like when Motley was doing their final tour, my wife was like, any day ready to have our first child. So I was like, we're going. So he was there in the womb. And then they obviously reunited and did the stadium tour. So I took my son to see them in San Francisco at the baseball stadium. And he's like the biggest Motley fan. And it's so rad to just like see it through his eyes. And like my kids are very harsh music critics. Like there's no filter. And both my boys, their three favorite bands, and this is all on their own by just us playing.
Oh, I'm
music
excited
in
to
the
hear
car.
this. Yeah. How old are they, by the way?
5 and 7.
Okay.
Sum 41, 21 Pilots, and Motley Crue.
Nice. Hey, those are some good. Oh, speaking of the APMAs, the first time I saw 21 Pilots was at the APMAs. But that's great. Those kids are listening to some good stuff. Do they drum?
Yeah.
Nice. So that's
We just cleared a wall in the playroom and put a drum set, and they have music lessons. they're really, really into it. Like it's so cool to see. And same thing, we didn't, we just have like, I found my dad's drum set because it was set up in the house. Same thing. They've started exploring, we don't push anything. I just, whatever they're passionate about, but like, they've just got it. They sit behind the drums and instinctually, like, whether it's right or wrong, they're just the way they hit the drums and the feeling that they have. It's just like they've got it. It's like you either do, you don't.
It's in your family. Your dad played the drums.
Totally.
You do. So did you on Order and Decline? Did you record it on your dad's Lugwood set or
we on one of the ballads we used the toms of my dad's drum set that I learned on that I still have.
That is so cool and special.
Yeah, and it's like the Ludwig 70s like vintage drums that are very expensive now if you find them in like
they're vintage
shops. Yeah, and same thing. Mike from SJC helped me refurbish them and bring them back to life. And yeah, we used them on one of the ballads. I think maybe Catching Fire because there's a lot of tom work.
And if I failed you, well, I swear I tried my best. And now you're gone, so all your tears can lay to rest.
But yeah, I've got them at home in my studio, and that's like kind of like a family heirloom, like that get passed on to my boys and and all that. Like it's just super special.
And I know even though Sum 41 sadly is closing the book, you are still a busy man because you've got, is it called Gravis?
Gravis. Yeah, Gravis or Gravis.
Gravis.
Yeah, it both works.
It's a new project you're working on.
Yeah.
You guys just played your first show.
A week ago, yeah.
You have a song out, Erase Me.
Love out to take over my mind when I know to beg you for your time.
Okay, but then on the Instagram clips that you've been posting, there's a song called Run.
Dude, yeah.
I had heard Erase Me when it first dropped, and then I heard Run, and I was like, whoa. What is going on with this project?
We're bringing metal to the raves, basically. Like it's, there's obviously a great movement going on with like Sullivan King and Keizo, and like
You worked a lot with Keizo, I know.
Yeah. I was Keizo's, drummer, musical director for a big tour in 2019. But before then, I was with Corella.
Yeah, we coming up. Yeah, we coming up.
Toured around the world with Corella. So, I've just been into, electronic music since, I was a kid. I used to go to all the big dance clubs in New York City when I was like 17 to 20s, and was in electronic bands, played winter music conferences, like this stuff like as a kid. So it's always been a part of me. And, I've just been doing, obviously the pandemic, like I needed to do something because we weren't touring. We didn't start recording till late into the pandemic. So I just started doing this whole, solo stuff. And I was working with the Keizos and Jaws and all these great, artists. And I just kind of got to a point after all these years of releasing music, it was to the point where like, you work with all these great artists, you work really, really hard, then it takes forever to the paperwork to put out a song and the whole rollout. Song comes out a week later, it's like, that's it. And then we weren't playing it live. Like there was nothing happening. And when I got hit up by a dear friend who's in A&R, she's like, you need to meet Francis Durrell. I think you guys would really musically hit it off. And we got on a call and I was just like, let's work on some music. And right when we started working on music, it was super special and different. And I was just like, if we're going to do this, like there needs to be a live element. I don't want to just do this in the studio. We put it out and then it's forgotten. Like let's really, and he was like, I've always wanted to do this. I'm same thing. We were on the same page. He brought in Kramack and Dimitri Medina, and like it's a band. Like there's a singer, Francis and Cray are multi-instrumentalists and DJs and producers. So, we put these, one song, the first song we put out, it wasn't called Grabs It. It was just all of our names. It's called Second Left to Breathe. We put it out on this DJ Phase 1's label. Then Erase Me, that's when we said we're going to call it Gravis. We're going to put it out on Monster Cat. And it did so well, that song. And then we got offered to do this festival, Get Freaky, last Saturday in Salt Lake City. And we spent like a lot of time behind the scenes figuring out how we're going to make this a live experience. We only had 2 days in Utah to get in a rehearsal space, build the live show. And organically, it was just like, okay, we're all drumming on the intro. So it's epic, intro.
Like some street drum corps type shit.
Of course, I can't help it. That's me, like, so we've got drum moments, we've got guitar moments, we've got singing where everyone's singing moments, like, and I didn't know how this was going to go off live because especially like the intro and the first song are very dramatic, then very rocky. This is EDM festival when people are high or drunk and they just want to rage. So I was like, let me see how this goes. And the second we walked out, first of all, the tent was to capacity. And everyone stayed for an hour and went freaking nuts. And we're just like, okay, we've got something here. So actually tomorrow, speaking of the song Run that you like, we're going to Foo Fighters studio tomorrow to record drums for our EP. All that's left besides drumming is like mixing and mastering. And then we're going to shop, figure out the rollout plan, and just really strategize. But it just, even my wife was like, what is this? What are you doing? And I was like, I really haven't said much about it. It just kind of happened because I really wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. It's been like, because, we did tour a decent amount this year with some, but not as much as we usually do because we were so getting ready for the record release and just everything that's been kind of going on. So I kind of had time and just kind of focused on this. On my downtime, focused on the School of Rock workshops. I actually did a ton of solo shows.
Yeah, you just
did
a tour.
I did,
right?
It was either DJ if the venues couldn't accommodate drums, or it was just like a marching drum and DJ, or a full like we finished the 5-week Offspring Simple Plan tour. Like a day later, I go to Seattle and do my first ever like full hour-long headline, because I did a couple like festivals overseas with some, doing my own set, but it was like 30 minutes, in the festival, and it was sick, but I'd never done like a hard ticket.
This is you.
Me, like, I was so freaking nervous because I'm like, I don't know if people understand what it is. And like, it was a tiny place. It was rad. 150 people showed up, which I couldn't believe 150 people showed up in Seattle for something. And they went so hard and it was so fun.
That's rad.
But to go from like 30,000 2 nights before with some, and then to this, but like, I love it because it keeps me so, I think just like, it just checks all the boxes of my creative stuff. It just keeps you, I feel like, humble, appreciative of just like, I don't know. It's just, I love doing it. So this year I kind of just went really, really hard. And obviously the next year and change is going to be so busy with some. And obviously that is like what it's all about, to celebrate. We've got some big shows coming up.
And speaking of 30 seconds, I know that you have that iHeartRadio show coming up that has like Paramore, 30 Seconds to Mars,
So
1975, Lovely
That's
the band.
our first show back in the new year, yeah.
Oh, wow. And that is such a stacked, sick lineup.
It's dope.
Frank Zummo,
Yeah.
Thank you for stopping
Thanks,
by,
dude.
man. I really
Hell yeah.
appreciate you chatting.
My man.
There we go. Yeah, buddy. Frankie, say bye to your Frank. Come here. Come on. You want to say bye? You'll
Doesn't like when people leave. I can take it.
Yeah. Frankie, I know. Come on. I swear he'll be back someday, right? Okay. Or whatever you're eating, keep enjoying it. But can't wait to hear the new Sum 41. I will be keeping up with School of Rock because it seems like a great thing. And I really appreciate you stopping by today. It was great to catch you briefly at when we were young, but to more properly sit down and chat now.
There she is.
Her tail's wagging, so we're good.
Yeah.